process. We had won BRAC, New Mexico. Holloman Air Force Base was not going to close because we won in the system. And the states that lost bases, they're the ones who said, oh, we'll take money away from BRAC and we'll fund veterans. They wanted us to take hard votes because they wanted to stop BRAC in its process. For me to have taken money away from BRAC would have put Holloman Air Force Base at risk one more time. Just wasn't willing to do that. It's too big a job creator. We fought hard to get the F-22 mission there, and the entire delegation rolled over and let the F-22 mission go. We took now F-16s, which are already in the boneyards in some cases. They're being used as drones to shoot down. And we got F-16 missions, which is last generation, and we gave up the F-22 mission because nobody in the current delegation would fight for those jobs. We lost 6,500 troops that were scheduled to be moved from El Paso up into southern New Mexico because the troops in El Paso, El Paso gets all of the economic benefit, and they do 98% of their training in New Mexico. And so I said, that's just not fair. You're going to get 15,000 new soldiers, and each one has 3.4 people assigned to it, just the way the math works out. So almost 45, 50,000 people going into El Paso and boost their economy there, and yet New Mexico's ground is put completely off limits. And we're not able to have economic development there because of the training, and we got none of the benefit. Senator Domenici and I put a pitched battle up, and finally a three-star general came to my office in Washington and said, what's it going to take? He said, I'll move 2,500 troops. I said, that would be a slap in the face to New Mexico. We negotiated over a period of time, and finally they said they'll move 6,500. In January of last year, as soon as President Obama was sworn in, we lost those, and not one person in the delegation said anything. So we fight for our jobs, we fight for the veterans, and we fight for what we think is right. Many times I think your idea of what's right and my idea of what's right is good. So let's go to questions. Let's take about, it usually goes in threes, so you know you're coming up. 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll start, we'll get the next ones on the next round. Yes, sir.
I simply want to know who you were referring to when you were talking about the delegation.
That would be Senators England, Senators Udall, and Congressman Teague. By the way, we also lost the flying mission out of Kirtland Air Force Base, too. We've lost the mission out of Kirtland. We lost the 6,500 troops. We lost the flying mission out of Holloman. We lost 200 jobs from the NASA facility in Las Cruces, and not one word. And when people over in Alamogordo began to push back, they said, watch your language. You don't have the right to speak up. I'm sorry, but I come into open settings where you do have the right to speak up. I'm of the different belief that it's only in these circumstances where our republic holds itself together. When it's that you don't have the right to complain about your representation, I really find that to be extraordinary. 2. You 2 or 3? You 2. Oh. All right, okay. All right.
I've got a statement with a question attached to it. Between our federal and state, we give so much to damn illegals that I believe if we took that back, we could fund a lot of programs. And what do we have to do to get people to hear that and work on it?
The people are in the process of hearing it right now. You see tremendous volatility on the border issue. And finally, Arizona said, we're going to do what we did. And they did it because the federal government was not securing the border. It's that simple. Every single one of us understands that we want legal immigration, but we also understand that illegal immigration begins to bleed away at the resources. And people of both parties now are saying we can no longer afford it. Look at California again. California should be the warning sign to us. Keep in mind that Greece, there are estimations, there are calculations that Greece may sink the European economy. The euro itself may sink because of Greece. Greece is 3% of Europe's economy. California is 28% of ours. We should be alarmed that their budget is so far out of whack. They've run so many jobs out of California through excessive regulation and excessive taxation that they can't pay the bills anymore. And we're trying to duplicate that from the federal government. We're going exactly the wrong way. Our primary goal has to be creating jobs, because those are the people who pay for you all. For your benefits are people with jobs. It's essential that we grow the economy, must be the number one priority. Fair enough, did we get there? 3, I'm sorry, I already lost track of where, yes, sir.
I know that they're screening veterans coming back now from Afghanistan and Iraq. But beyond that screening, you know, when you first come back, that screening isn't gonna really catch as many. It will help, that's sure, but what, do you have anything in mind to go beyond that point to help catch these veterans so that they don't have to go through this post-traumatic stress fight like we did for when we came there?
First of all, how many are veterans in here? Thank you for your service, I appreciate that. And we had to learn those lessons after World War II and Vietnam. We didn't know what PTSD was, we just pushed it aside. And I've got a fairly close acquaintance in Hobbs that suffered from PTSD, and he said, you know, just 3 treatments with a psychologist when I got home would have made my life different. Just 3, something like that. And so that's what we're doing. But I will tell you, it is sometimes about the money, but it's usually not about the money in the VA. The VA squanders tremendous resources. And so we've made the promise that we're going to screen these people. And yet I've run into 2 PTSD clients as we travel around like this. One was diagnosed to be a danger to himself and his family by the state and by an independent agency. And yet he was just released from Albuquerque. I went to see him in Albuquerque at that hospital, and he was released from there. And they had scratched off that he was a danger and said, okay to release. His wife is frantic because she can't get anyone in the delegation to call back. And so we've made requests. We're not in office, but we've made requests. Please reevaluate this person. So it is more about, it's about the money. Yes, you've got to see that the money is there. And we increased the budget probably double in my time in Congress to our veterans' health care. But it's more than that, it's about the commitment to service. And that's where we really began to play a role. We began to insist that the head of the Albuquerque VA hospital show up in the Southern District once every quarter, he and his chief of staff, and they would come to meetings exactly like this. We did them all the time, everywhere. And so once a quarter, he would show up and he would hear these same complaints, and I began to know that we had 23 recurring complaints, of which you drive all the way to Albuquerque and they say, oh, we forgot to tell you, we canceled your appointment last week. And you turn around and you come all the way back. And so after we saw that one about 15 times, he finally assigned somebody just to look at those people coming from the 2nd District, because he knew that in 90 days he was going to be accountable for that. But the VA has I think, a mentality like all the bureaucracies that they exist for themselves. I think they have a crass attitude towards veterans. I think they have an arrogance towards service. That's not every person in the VA. But generally speaking, I think they have the belief that they're the end result, not the veterans. How many of you seen significant change in your veteran services in the last 2 years? Significant.
Yeah.
You should see significant. First of all, President Bush eliminated the Category 7 and 8 out of the system. Our President Obama did. As President Clinton was leaving office, he opened it up, Category 7 or 8, so those people, and I may not have the terminology just right, but those are the people who served but didn't get hurt in duty. Maybe they were 65 driving along, hit a fire plug or something, ran into something, and they had an injury. And those are people that are non-service related decades after the fact. And as Clinton was leaving office, one of his last official duties was to sign and open the doors to all these people. So as President Bush came in, there was a tremendous surge of people that now had access to the clinics, now had access to the system. And so the waiting times flew up to like 6 months, 8 months, because this millions of people suddenly were asking to get into the system because they were told you can't. Well, as President Obama came in, he turned that off. And you didn't hear one comment from any of the veteran groups. Not one of them. So these people who, yes, one. Just, I get to you. So, so the second thing is that in this idea that we can print money, that there's no fiscal restraint. And we went up, every year we try to